Hello there and welcome once again to The Verdict. I'm Mick Cornett along with Kent Myers. We're here every week, as you know, meeting interesting people and dealing with topical issues. And today we're going to meet the first cowgirl.
The first cowgirl, yes. Ann Hargis is the wife of Burns Hargis, president of Oklahoma State University, but very accomplished in her own right. Certainly recently been selected as Oklahoma's Woman of the Year by the Journal-Record newspaper. But she is the first cowgirl.
Yeah.
And we've not had a cowgirl on the show before, I don't think. We've done a lot of shows, but not with a cowgirl. And I thought this would be a good chance to find out what she's doing, how she's enjoying it, what's going on in her world at Stillwater, because it will be different than probably what we heard a couple of weeks ago when we had Burns on and found out what was going on in his world. Well, this is Ann's world today.
Woman of the Year is quite an accomplishment when you realize there's, there's over 1.5 million women in this state. And that's
well, and I took a minute to look through the brochure of all the finalists and contestants, and it's really an outstanding group. And to be selected #1 out of that group is quite an accomplishment.
Absolutely. And she has her hands full. She's always busy. Ann Hargis, today's guest on The Verdict. We'll be right back.
What I can offer is insight into understanding the Native American art, how these artists are expressing themselves as cultural people. I am Heather Autone. I'm a Native American researcher and curator, and I am Chickasaw. I can remember in first grade the teacher saying, "Well, you're so lucky you don't look Indian." That was difficult to hear, because it was what I was. It's what I am. I think there's a renaissance going on amongst the tribes. I think the Chickasaws are leading that. We didn't die. We're not gone. So what are we now? And what can we do now to start to form that identity, to survive into another century? And to have the culture guiding us into that future, that would be significant.
See more stories about the Chickasaw people at profilesofanation.com.
It's a North American energy revolution. We're the fastest growing source of new oil and natural gas supplies in the world.
The shift to North American energy will create approximately 3 million jobs.
All that money we've been sending overseas, $400 billion a year. Imagine that staying in our economy. It's a game changer.
Real energy independence starts now, and it starts with Oklahoma.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers, and Kent's going to introduce today's guest.
Today we're very pleased to have all the way from Stillwater, Oklahoma, the first cowgirl of the state of Oklahoma, Ms. Ann Hargis, the wife of Burns Hargis, but we could say Burns is the husband of Ann Hargis, and that would be equally true and equally impactful. Ann has been at OSU since 2008 when Burns took over the presidency up there. She did her undergraduate work at another orange university, the University of Texas, where she got a degree in math and a couple of other things, and has been quite a supporter of education throughout her tenure here at Oklahoma State University. She's active before she went to Stillwater in a lot of civic and cultural activities in Oklahoma City, including Leadership Oklahoma. And this year, according to the Journal-Record selection process, as we indicated in the opening segment, she was selected Oklahoma's Woman of the Year, as designated by the Journal-Record. And So glad to have you. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Kent. Good to be here.
Congratulations.
Nick.
Great to have you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So let's talk about, you have a lot of roles, you wear a lot of different hats, but let's talk about the role of the First Cowgirl, of your role at Oklahoma State University.
The cowgirl hat.
Yeah, the cowgirl hat.
Well, knowing I was coming today, I tried to tie it in a little bit with Oklahoma blue for Thunder Blue, but also the cowgirl. So this is the First Cowgirl scarf,
Beautiful.
which, thank you. I don't know why I got off on this, but we commissioned this scarf from an OSU grad who is an internationally known artist, Sonia Turpening. And Sonia had this made for me to give away as gifts, and it's called Hats Off. So in turn, I give this to people who have done wonderful things for Oklahoma and for OSU. So the role of the First Cowgirl happened probably the Christmas before Burns became president, and someone said to me, well, if it isn't the First Lady, and it took my breath away. I thought, I'm not the First Lady, and I wasn't comfortable with it. And so he said, well, what are you comfortable with? And I just thought a minute, and I said, First Cowgirl. So I coined that term myself, and I think much to the surprise of many people, it had never really been used in this capacity before. So I respect the office of First Lady, and I think there are times when that's very appropriate to use. But as a general rule, just to be more open and welcoming, I'm very, very comfortable with First Cowgirl.
You've got to be pleased with the way the university has ascended. Since you guys arrived on campus.
And I liken it to a band that's practiced a great deal. They're in uniform, they're ready to go, but they don't have that drum major out in front. And I think I'm kind of the twirler, just running around twirling and saying, we're doing a good job, we're doing a good job. So.
But there's also the role, whether you like it or not, or want to assume it or not. I mean, you're a role model for a lot of young women who are away from home for the very first time in their life, and that there's some responsibility that comes with that.
And I treasure that. I have such a great time identifying with students and actually young faculty and staff, and just making sure they feel comfortable in their role and know that their future looks very, very bright. So I welcome that role, and I'm really not assuming it as such. I just know that it happens to happen as a outcome of some of the things I do.
Well, I know you're very busy. You got a busy schedule with a lot of things to do. Do you ever get a chance, however, just to get out and meander around the campus and visit?
That's my favorite thing to do. I love being kind of incognito because there are a lot of people who have no idea who I am. And in many ways, I do things on campus, and for one thing, I have a little orange golf cart, an electric cart that Burns gave me. We've named her Clementine. And she and I go around campus all the time, and we just take people for rides. The license tag actually says taxi on it. So my point is, if you see me, just holler taxi. So it's very interesting with today's students. Most of them are plugged into the earphones, and they are in a world of their own. So I come up in this quiet cart, and I say, hi, would you like a ride? And they jump back, and they not only don't hear me coming, they're taken back by the fact that there's a woman in a golf cart, an orange golf cart, offering them a ride. So I've decided if I ask 3 or more to go for a ride, they'll look at each other and they'll go, oh, sure, and then they'll all get on. So I love taking people for rides, and most of the time, they don't know who I am. So I get comments like, are you here every Friday at 4? Or one time I took a couple from the parking lot into it was a basketball game, actually. And as I dropped them off, they turned back to me and they said, will you be here when the game's over? I don't know if I will or not, but if I'm here, I'll be happy to take you back to your car. They didn't know who I was.
Does Clementine accept tips?
Clementine does not accept tips, but she accepts any conversation that you can get.
When you are visiting with the young women on campus, and really the male students as well, do you think back to your undergraduate days, and do you see differences or do you see similarities? What do you gravitate toward?
I am totally amazed at how bright most of these students are, and the students with whom we are in contact, of course, are the cream of the crop. So I look at their maturity level, I look at their accomplishments, and I marvel at that. In the meantime, I'm also on campus, and when I see a student who doesn't make eye contact, I go, you're much more like I was when I was on campus. I not only didn't know we had a president, I didn't care. I mean, it wasn't in my, he wasn't going to ask me out for date Friday night, and that was really my priority when I was in school. So It's a good balance. It's a really good balance. And of course, we have numerous foreign students on campus. And it's interesting to know they all know who the President and First Lady are. They're very much aware of it because in their countries, they treasure education so highly that they pay attention to those kind of things. So it's a remarkable mixture of all kinds of things going on at the same time.
There's something that strikes me every time I'm in Stillwater, which isn't all that often, but I had two children. Well, I do too. I had two children graduate from Oklahoma State University, so I was up there a good bit. But the atmosphere on campus is different than on any other campus I've ever been on. It's so welcoming. It's so calming, if you will. Not that there isn't a lot going on, not that there isn't a lot of excitement. But it's just a different atmosphere, and I've had two children tell me that the reason they primarily chose Oklahoma State was because of the atmosphere on campus. How do you generate that? How do you maintain that?
It's an emotion, and I must say I think it's always been there. I think it's something that anybody who has ever experienced it understands exactly what you're talking about. You can't bottle it. I mean, it is there.
It was there when my partner, now retired Dean Stringer, who's a long-time alum and a supporter, was a student at Oklahoma State. He goes on and on about, he was from Sayre, Oklahoma, I guess, and went to Oklahoma State, and the atmosphere is what drew him there.
And I have to say, one year I was going to speak with potential students, and I just stopped a student on campus and I said, why did you choose OSU? Yeah. She said, back to your question, she said, I come from a small town, and I think that OSU has small town values with big city opportunities. And I thought, I'm going to use that, and I've used it ever since. I mean, it just came right out of his mouth. So I believe it's always been there, but I think that, again, you can't even describe it. You have to feel it, and it's very, very special. It's very nurturing.
Mentioned you had a math degree from the University of Texas.
Yes.
What did you do with that degree? What did you do in between the time you left UT and you arrived in Stillwater?
Well, that took me 38 years, so how much time do we have? When I graduated, at that time, you either taught math or you were a secretary or a nurse. And just because of certain circumstances, I interviewed on campus through the College of Engineering. And at that time, there also weren't any interviewing technique classes taught, so I thought I will use this major corporation that won't know my name. I'll just be a number to that person. So I took IBM as my guinea pig, and I interviewed through IBM just to find out how you go through the interviewing process. And they called me back for another interview, and they called me back for an aptitude test, and they called me back and they offered me a job. And I said, you don't understand. I'm not interviewing for a job, really. But at that time, the salary was so tremendous, and I became what's called a systems engineer with IBM. So I was installing computers, and they were looking for women at the time. They were looking for people with an aptitude.
These really big computers?
In the banking industry, as a matter of fact. So
that's all there were at that time were really big ones. There weren't a lot of small ones.
That's all there were, and there were very few women in the industry where I was. So it was a new frontier, which was very, very exciting.
Well, one of the largest corporations in America at the time. IBM. Okay, we're going to get back because you've been very involved in making it a healthier campus and pushing those messages across the state of Oklahoma. And I'm very interested in your views on that. So we're going to visit with Ann Hargis, the First Cowgirl, about health in Oklahoma and on the campus at OSU when we get back.
When you have something important to communicate, it becomes clear that there's a lot of competition for your audience's attention. So how can your message stand out and actually resonate with your audience? Legal Graphics has the answers. The team at Legal Graphics will work with you to plan, design, and even test your presentation to ensure your message will be heard and remembered. Call Legal Graphics today to schedule an appointment. The readiness is all.
The good life comes naturally to Tulsa, where nature's beauty is matched with an eye for aesthetics. A legacy of neighborhoods graced with lawns and landscaping and handsome homes. a place that seems to have patented an ideal lifestyle. Bank First is loyal to the quality of life Tulsa assures its citizens, to the priority placed on education, culture, and growth. Loyal to builders who transform raw land into residential charm. Developers who see opportunity and add vitality to Tulsa's economy. Bank First serves both enterprise and private lives that need a loyal partner. It's how we help nurture this city's very good life. Bank First. Loyal to Oklahoma. Loyal to you.
Welcome back to the Set of the Verdict. Mick Cornett and Kent Myers, and we're visiting with our guest, Ann Hargis. You've been very involved on improving the health and the culture on campus in Stillwater. Why did you take that on? What did you see, and what advances have you made?
First of all, I'm a tomboy, so my natural instinct is to be outside and be active. And when Burns and I first came to OSU, we realized there was something in place that had been there since the early 90s, and that was because of a benefactor who was an OSU grad named Bud Seratine, who started a whole program about wellness. And so there was a wellness center, and the more I got involved in the wellness center, the more I realized there were things being done not only all over campus, but in our branch campuses and also in our county extensions. You know, we are a land grant university. As such, we do education research, but the main thing is we do outreach. And so one year I was asked to come speak to the statewide county extension meeting, which is all 77 counties represented, and to explain what we were doing on the campus in Stillwater. And I realized during that meeting that there were so many programs going on within the state of Oklahoma through the county extension offices that we had so much to share with each other and so much to learn from that. And from that attitude, we went into the unique position that we have now hired a chief wellness officer who is in charge of all wellness for the A&M University systems. So that's not only student, faculty, staff, family, friends, visitors, wellness. And it's not just nutrition and fitness, it's emotional health. Yeah. So we're very, very involved in emphasizing emotional health.
That's a big agenda.
It's huge. It's huge, and great things are happening. And the more we meet and realize what other people are doing, the more we realize we can enjoy each other's success and use those successes as well.
Tell us about the arts on the OSU campus. Not many people may know a lot about that. Tell our viewers what you'd like for them to know about the arts on campus, well, including facilities.
Well, the facilities are the exciting part going on currently, but in the Morrill Act, which established the land-grant universities, it was stated that we would take on the responsibility of educating our people, and land was granted for that purpose, but not to the exclusion of the arts. So OSU has always had a very, very successful art department in the fine arts, and we've got a lot of treasures that nobody knows about. So what has happened lately is we have bought the old Postal Plaza in downtown Stillwater, which has connected the downtown with the university, and we now have a laboratory type museum, which is stage 1, where you can go and actually watch students curate the art, and you can see different displays being hung. We just finished a major display called Framing History, which was from the state capitol. Some of the permanent collection from the state capitol was hanging in Stillwater. And now we're getting ready to have a large program from New York. The New York project is being installed. So that should be up and running when this show airs. And our hope is to have a permanent museum on campus, but also continue this Postal Plaza as the laboratory where you can actually see things happening. In addition to that, we have a very vibrant theater program and music program, and we are in the process of having a performing arts center built. to celebrate all of that.
That'd be on campus?
That will be right, I guess you could say on campus, right across the street from campus. So the campus is moving to take that in. Yeah.
What other projects are you involved with on campus currently?
Well, getting back to the wellness, I love to celebrate anything we're doing well, but as far as a project that is ongoing, we have established, again, the first ever in the nation pet therapy program that is campus-wide. And this, again, we have 13 dogs, and we have 13 more in various stages of becoming what we call therapy dogs. The dogs live with their owners who are connected with the university. Either they're employed or they're a spouse of the employee, but the dogs live in homes of people connected with the university, and they go to work. When they do, they go to the department with that particular, whatever department the dog is from. So the human resources has a dog in that department. Of course, the vet school does. The foundation does. There are all different departments across campus.
Does the First Cowgirl have a?
The First Cowgirl also. I said to Burns, if we're going to champion this program, we need a dog. Burns said, and I'm trying to simplify my life because it doesn't exactly simplify matters. But we have a special little rescue dog that had been shot, and students rescued the dog, could not handle the vet bill. So they put a picture of the dog and the story of the dog on Facebook, and they raised over $6,000 from across the nation. The vet school, in rehabbing the dog, called me and said, this dog has the perfect disposition for a therapy dog. So because of the timing and everything, we have adopted this little dog they named Scruff, and we kept the name Scruff. And he now is becoming a therapy dog, and he's in the president's office, but we also go all over campus. So we go where the need is, and we go to the library, we go to the student union. We're there every day in some capacity. So it is an ongoing emotional lift.
How busy is your social calendar if there's a kind of a responsibility to attend all of the events, or as many as you can on campus? I mean, people are very aware of the athletic events and all the different sports of the men's and women's athletic departments, but that's just the beginning of the opportunities to be busy in the evenings.
Yeah.
How do you guys manage your schedules?
We're like kids in a candy store. It is like we can go here, we can go there. I think we do what I call touch and goes very, very often, and it gets to the point where one day I was in church and I thought, well, I've been here long enough, gotta go. No way. So our lifestyle is so fast-paced, and when you think about it, those are just events on campus, because we also love to attend events in Oklahoma City, in Tulsa, on other campuses. I mean, it is like the sky's the limit. You can be busy every minute.
Yes.
And the other thing I didn't realize, when we before Burns was president and we would go to football games, it was an exhausting day. By the time you went to tailgate, football games, and perhaps dinner afterwards and went home, you were just exhausted. I didn't realize that when there's a game, a home game on campus, that is when the Pistol Petes the last 50 years have a reunion. The moms of the Chi Omegas have a reunion. The past regents, I mean, there are meetings, and so before the game begins, you're starting early in the morning and going, so by the time the game starts, you spend a whole day, and then you have a room full of guests there who are fresh and ready to go to the game, and you're just still rolling. So,
well, I don't mean to interrupt, but the Journal Record Woman of the Year is quite an honor. Can you describe when you were informed that you have been the recipient?
Thank you. A total surprise. I mean, it is a well-kept secret. I don't know who nominated me. I don't know how the process works. And the evening of the event, you show up with 50 very outstanding women. And all I can say is I'm deeply, deeply honored. I feel that there are many qualified women who probably didn't even apply, because the process of filling out the paperwork itself is very tedious. And so I'm just amazed at the quality of women from all over the state. And in every field, they're in finance, they're in law, they're in business, they're in nonprofit. There are all kinds of ways women make a difference.
Well, you're very deserving, and thank you for coming on The Verdict.
Thank you so much.
Thanks again.
Oh, you bet. Thank you.
Kent and I'll have a final word after this.
All children deserve a life of hope and love, but sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, each child deserves all the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
You will always be mom and dad to me.
We are a very conservative family, and we believe in old-fashioned family values. We have a loving home there, and we love kids, and we have 5, 6 of our own. And but I had no idea we were going to go into adoption, but it's been very gratifying.
You will always be mom and dad to me.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information.
And for almost 30 years, Oklahoma political, government, and business leaders have turned to the McCarville Report for accurate, reliable, inside information. Visit the McCarville Report online.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers, and today's show we visited with Ann Hargis.
Yes, the better half of the pair at Oklahoma State University running the place. Burns and Ann are just doing a marvelous job up at Stillwater, but we wanted this show to focus on Ann and what she's doing because her projects are not simply ceremonial. They have substance to them, and she's working hard to make a difference in Stillwater, just as she did when she lived in Oklahoma City. We
have a website, some information on the website at Oklahoma State University where you can find more about her work and some of the specific projects she mentioned. It's okstate.edu, okstate.edu. And we have a website. We'd love for you to go on our website for this television show and explain to us a guest that you'd like to see on the upcoming edition or a topic you'd like to see us discuss here. Our website is theverdict.tv. That's theverdict.tv. That's going to do it for this week's show. Our thanks once again to Ann Hargis. For Kent Myers, I'm Mick Cornett. We'll see you next week right here on The Verdict.